our other key pillars of the Fifth Estate, I think have become essential torchbearers for supporting a public conversation. But at the end of the day, putting aside sort of the national discussion, I think at the local level, which is why I care so much about cities, there are places, there are tight feedback loops, there are elected officials whom one can and will interact with if one so chooses. I think this is where we see a great opportunity at the city level to affect change. I think the Obama administration is creating meaningful enabling programs for localities and regions, but I think it's ultimately now in the hands of local communities, be it the city of San Diego or the city of La Jolla, to take seriously the mandate that we've been talking about through these slides, to rethink the way we grow. The physical growth, the built environment, and social development of our places. And in that sense, the national campaigns and the national media, while they no doubt have an influence and affect the nature of the discussion or the collaboration, can be somewhat blunted by just actually doing the work, which is hard work. But it is happening. And I think we're also seeing a bit of a race to the top among US cities to compete on things like GHG reductions, to compete on things like smarter mobility systems. Boulder has proudly worn the badge of Smart Grid City. I dare say XL has backed off on its commitment, XL Energy, a little bit in light of the economy and other things. But to see how proudly Boulder, its citizens, the city, and that company said, we are the first, was to suggest that there's currency and value in local communities competing for a kind of environmental virtue, which I find very exciting.
Anybody else up here need to talk about our national political dialogue?
Sure.
Mike?
Mickey kind of, to my knowledge, coined a term, good skeptics and bad skeptics. And I think that, that's a really important dichotomy, really important point. Any scientist worth his salt is a skeptic. You know, it's part of the job, but it kind of, you know, and scientists are often sort of depicted as being way at the end of, you know, global change as some sort of religion or something. You know, really what we need to do is create a space to all be kind of good skeptics. I work in this field for some time and all that, and I'm quite convinced that when people actually look at the odds of problems versus not problems, the odds of being right versus not being right, that sort of thing, that any reasonable person who opens their mind to that will see, hey, this is worth avoiding, this is worth trying to prepare for in advance, even if I don't want to derail everything I'm doing. There's a lot of room for that conversation, or there's a lot of need for the conversation. Right now, skepticism is sort of in the hands of, I can't put words in Mickey's mouth, but you know, bad skeptics of the sort who are ostriches, and you know,
and who are louder.
Miss Palin is you know, clearly an example of how badly that can go.
Can I make a brief?
Yes, sure.
Okay, because you keep talking about me. But anyway, first of all, I'm a cynical optimist. Okay, I get up in the morning, I try to make things better. I'm not surprised if it doesn't work out. The next day I didn't give up, so I come back and try again. It may be a little stupid, but that's the way most people are, I think. If you're a pessimist, you give up. If you're an optimist, you're in la-la land. So I, a long time ago, characterized the climate change community, the way people look at it, in terms of birds. Hawks, doves, owls. When Bush came in, I added ostriches. And the hawks believe it's happening. That's Al Gore, Steve Schneider. It's happening. And I don't care what you say. That's why I put up that question. What would change anybody's mind? The doves are the guys that, oh, the Earth, it's Gaia, we'll live through it, everything readjusts, we'll evaporate, get more clouds, kill global warming and all that. And then I think most people, even the scientists I work with at NCAR, most of them are in the middle. They're owls. They're waiting to see how it unfolds. Is it natural variability? Is it human-induced? To what extent are we enhancing the greenhouse and all that stuff? And that's why I put up that slide about, here's what worries me. Things are changing. I don't know if it'll reverse. The idea of good skeptic, bad skeptic, it really was because the climate scientists, in response to ClimateGate, the exposure of those emails with some silly comments made in them, they started calling people who didn't agree with them deniers. And I think deniers is about the worst word you can get. That's Palin. But I think that cluster of deniers is relatively small compared to skeptics. And then you can divide the skeptics as good skeptics. They're just skeptics. I mean, that's what science is about, reducing uncertainty. One more quick thing, and that is, I think, as has been said, has been implied, if not said, that we now have 21st century problems and societies that are shackled by 1800s, 1900s bureaucracies, including our political parties. We think in silos, we think in specific interests, and we're kind of backing into the 21st century. That's what worries me. And that if I'm pessimistic about something, it's about what is it going to take people who have all the right information in their hand and still make the wrong decisions.
Frank, you want to add anything about busting silos, breaking down the compartmentalized thinking?
Oh, no, I think my view is, I think in many ways the scientific community has sort of done it to itself in terms of enabling people like Sarah Palin, because they provide an ideal foil for her in the sense of, is the hawks. Whereas I think if people just said, look, here's what we know and stated in facts, I think that, I agree with you, I think most people would say, gee, I buy insurance on my house, I buy insurance for my car, this looks like I want to buy insurance for my kids and my kids' kids and whatever, I'm willing to spend a little money for that. And I think to the extent of presenting it that way, it's really hard for reasonable people to say no to that.
All right, good. Thanks for those 4 responses. Another question. Sir, introduce yourself, please. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't see the microphone. Tell us who you are.
Luann Hammond, Carlist.com. Dr. Dettinger, you showed a slide that showed the amount of water it takes to create electricity from different energies, from nuclear and natural gas. Do you know those figures offhand? Because I loved the slide, but I can't remember. Nuclear was 19%, natural gas was 20%. I'm wondering if you knew what coal and petroleum were?
I can get those numbers for you. I have to say, though, that I believe, if we're talking about the same slide, that what that was showing is how much electricity we get from various sources. I may be misinterpreting which slide you're thinking about. In any event, I can move. They're on the figure. They're underneath something right now. I can pull it aside and send you the numbers.
Also, the water content, I mean, the water required depends on the technology you use. Like, for example, in California, there's a mandate to switch to what's called once-through cooling. Most of the power plants in California currently don't use that. The other is there's you can use fresh water versus salt water. So there's a lot of parameters associated with that number.
I was just coming to my question to you. Because on page 4 of your slideshow, you show the renewable energy and how much you use. And for nuclear, it's 8%. Dr. Dettinger was saying that it's 19% to create water from, the 19% of the water created from the nuclear energy was 19%. I'm wondering if any of you had looked at the amount of water that it takes to create electricity from each different energy.
Like I said, it depends on what you use. I mean, you know, if you're willing to use a different coolant, you don't even need to use water. So, for example, in south of San Jose, the Metcalf facility essentially uses reclaimed water from the city of San Jose. So you could say they're basically, true, they may be consuming the water, but it's got water that's no other real use besides flowing to the bay.